In the space of barely more than a decade, China has transformed from a nation where only few had ever experienced air travel to where millions of its citizens are flying not only across their own vast territory, but to destinations all around the world. China's economic modernization has created great conditions for commercial aviation to blossom. Chinese now travel by air more than ever before, and more than 600 million travelers pass through China's airports each year.
There's really a lot of people. Considering the special situation, this global pandemic right now, I believe most of the airports all around the world are quite empty. But that's not the case here in China. Like when I was coming from Shenzhen, there were huge queues to check in every airline.
Commercial aviation is also becoming an increasingly important driver of economic development. Aviation in China has expanded dramatically over the last several decades, driven in large part by the country's rising middle class and ongoing urbanization. Passengers traveling by air surged from 62 million in 2000 to 600 million in 2019. This totaled 1/8 of the world's total passengers air traffic that year, placing China second in total number of passengers served, only behind the US. Meanwhile, in America, although airports serve more travelers than anywhere else in the world, many are handling far more passengers than their original design intended. Americans themselves have dedicated entire blocks to a whole array of airports issues, criticizing everything from crowded terminals and immigration halls to inefficient transport links and endless security checks.
See? It's the worst!
Airports in America were designed for a different era. I've been myself in some of the biggest airports, and yes, they are noisy, dirty, and just generally user-unfriendly. Security protocols are needlessly tedious, and the connection process for passengers arriving from overseas is very time-consuming.
New York is a huge city, and right now there are currently 3 major airports serving this big metropolis. JFK, which will be like the major airport. Then we have LaGuardia, which recently went through like an upgrade and they opened like a brand new terminal, or they renovated one. And this one, which is not in New York, it's in New Jersey, but still serving New York. I was staying for a few days in Manhattan, in downtown, and I just reached this very place using the New Jersey transit system, which I have to say was quite an experience because it's a little bit tricky to reach this place all the way from there. But we made it. It took us like 1 hour and a half to reach this very place using train. New York is one of the most visited cities in the world, and it still has public transportation and public infrastructure not that well developed. Actually in America, in many major cities, you will find that situation. And actually, one of the reasons I wanted to come all the way here is because you guys told me, or usually make these comments about the infrastructure here in the US. Of course, when we compare to the infrastructure in China, we're talking about airports and train stations and high-speed trains. I think America is way behind, but I actually wanted to see it with my own eyes and take a look at these places, these airports, these train stations, and see if it's actually like the way you say it. But I'm actually getting that feeling already.
Chengdu Tianfu International Airport opened in June 2021, following a 5-year construction period, bringing the total number of certified airports nationwide to 248 in China. By 2025, China is expected to have more than 270 civilian airports. This new Chengdu airport was not a small project. With 3 runways and 2 terminals, it has the capacity to handle 60 million passengers annually. But it won't stop there. The plan is to expand the airport to 6 runways and 4 terminals, which will mean it can handle approximately 90 million passengers each year. This opening also made Chengdu the 3rd city in China to have 2 airports, after Beijing and Shanghai. Qingdao Jiaodong International Airport saw its first flight on August 12, 2021, just 4 years after construction started in 2017. With 2 runways and capacity for 35 million passengers a year, it is the largest airport in East China. And it was China's 3rd new terminal airport since 2019, after Chengdu Tianfu and Beijing Daxing, which started operations in September 2019.
So many airports, and usually depending on which country they are, they're not that friendly, they're not that spacious, they don't feel like welcoming. My top 5 airports, I would say Qatar airport, like Doha airport in Qatar, it's wonderful. The one in Dubai also, it's beautiful. Hong Kong airport is also quite nice. Shenzhen airport, of course. The one in Singapore, also you have a lot of different activities to do. Like the one in Singapore is very singular, like it's more like a shopping mall or an amusement park or something like that. I like the airport in Madrid, Barajas airport. Oh, I like the one in Marrakesh in Morocco. It's not that big, it's not that spacious, but the structure is very beautiful, super modern. I don't think I have any favorite airport in America. I mean, I love America, but they all look so outdated. They need to work on that. I think they're doing some big upgrades in LaGuardia in New York, and I think Chicago O'Hare also. They're working in those airports. Europe, Barcelona and Madrid, they're fine. They feel good, spacious, clean.
Airports Council International, the trade association of the world's airport, recently released its annual ranking of the busiest airports in the world. The United States dominated the list, with half of the airports in the top 10 spread across the country. However, despite having the busiest airports in the world, there is an evident lack of dedicated investment in the aviation infrastructure in the States. Many of its airports are operating well beyond the capacity for which they were originally intended several decades ago. And this is one of the main reasons why air travelers, both international and domestic, experience crowded terminals and outdated facilities. 67% of people who fly out of America arrive at a better airport, The Economist estimated last year, after delving into data on more than 1 million flights. The average United States airport is 45 years old, and when we refer to their youngest airport hub, that will be Denver Airport, and it is about to turn 30 years old.
You can feel that the airports and the trains and all this infrastructure is a little bit outdated. And it's the same here. Like right now, I'm checking those huge lines to pass through security check. I might not be allowed to record that area, but it seems like it's quite long and the process is a little bit slow. And one of the reasons for that is because of the design of the airport here is not adapted to modern times and modern flows of people. We're talking about thousands and thousands of people traveling using this airport every hour. So these terminals are probably designed and built for probably the 80s or even the 90s, but the capacity is not enough to support like all the travelers are using all these facilities. That's not the case in China. As you have seen on my videos, those airports over there are massive, are huge, well designed, of course, to allow people to flow seamlessly from one terminal to the other, connecting to train station, connecting to bus stops. America is getting behind when we compare to the infrastructure in Asia in general, but especially in China. That's where I've had the chance to travel, to make content about. Here, it took me more than 1 hour to reach this place. Once I reached the train station, I had to take another small train that belongs to the airport because there's no train station within the airport. You need to transfer in another place. Most of the airports are just like that. They have like their own internal train system to connect the terminal with the parking lots and then probably to a bus stop or a train station. So it's not that convenient. If you don't have a car, if you're just walking, if you're a traveler, if you're visiting the country from overseas and you don't want to rent a car, it's going to be a little bit troublesome to move around. And that's the case here in Newark Airport. And something similar happens in JFK. It's a big airport, but there's no major upgrade lately. The only one who went through kind of an upgrade and they built like a terminal, that is LaGuardia Airport, that I'm sadly not going to have the chance to visit that one. Probably in my next trip to America, I'll be there, check it out. But anyway, I will need to go through security check first and see how it goes. I'll show you around because I cannot record in that area.
But Chinese airports are also facing issues. According to the CAAC, China's 32 largest and busiest airports are suffering from capacity overload, and 40 of China's 50 largest airports need to be renovated or expanded. China's 14th five-year plan includes 140 airports projects, involving greenfield construction, relocation, renovation, and expansion. China boasted 241 certified transport airports at the end of 2020. During that year, 114 airport projects were either started or continued. The total number of airports at the end of 2020 was 58 more than China had just 8 years earlier in 2012. That is the equivalent to around 7 new airports being opened each year. The pace is not letting up. In fact, it is increasing. According to plans released in February 2021, China is aiming to have 400 civilian transport airports by the end of 2035, or an increase of 150 compared with the number at the end of 2020. Even though this huge expansion of the airport network in China might look excessive, it is not at all. If we compare, there are 3 international airports in New York and 5 in London. Shanghai, with over 20 million people, will construct its 3rd airport, and Guangzhou, with 17 million people, will construct its 2nd airport. So, for the major Chinese cities, in order to become world-class hubs, they must have world-class infrastructure.
Actually, this Shenzhen Airport was among the top 10 busiest airport in the world last year. Usually, in regular times, this airport is super busy. Even though this airport is huge because it's massive, it's a really big airport, it's about to get even bigger because the airport is going through an expansion. Another additional terminal is being built and will be open at some point next year. They're also adding recently a railway station that will connect to Guangzhou. There is a mass transit hub planned for this airport that will connect all the Pearl Delta region. So in a matter of minutes, it will be super easy to connect to Hong Kong, Macau, Guangzhou, Foshan, Zhuhai, all the neighbor cities with Shenzhen. I'm really excited to see what is about to come.
Aviation was born in the US, and very quickly American airplanes and American trained pilots formed the backbone of the global aviation. North America remains the world's largest aviation market today. Yet, the US air transport is no longer the envy of other nations. Not a single US airport was ranked in the top 25 airports in the world. And worse still, America's largest and most important airports in cities like New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles are at the very bottom in terms of customer satisfaction. American airports are constantly outperformed by their Asian rivals in world rankings. The highest ranked American airport, which is Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, is number 30. San Francisco and Atlanta are the only other US airports in the top 50, in a survey of 13 million passengers conducted by the Skytrax consultancy group. In the last few years, we have seen some efforts to upgrade some existing terminals like LaGuardia in New York with more modern designs and better amenities for the travelers. San Francisco's new Harvey Milk Terminal 1 includes a recomposed area directly after security screening where benches enable passengers to put their belts and shoes back and refill their water bottles. A children's play area has padded flooring, and a museum area features exhibits from the airport's SFO museum, with benches and dimmed lighting. LaGuardia's new terminal also features high ceilings, wood and marble accents, a variety of art installations by local New York artists, and walls of windows to create a light and airy atmosphere for travelers.
So we already made it through the security check. Surprisingly, it was not that slow because I saw quite a long line up there, but there were like 3 different kind of access. One for regular people, like me, and then there were like 2 more, was like Premier, Elite, something, probably it's like for business class. And there was another one, it's for like TSA pre-check thing. It has a name, but it's not for free. Like you must enroll in advance and you need to pay a fee, and then you don't need to go to make the regular line like regular people. But that's only, as far as I know, for American citizens. Because the lady asked me if I have like American ID, which I don't, so I don't qualify for that service. This is Terminal C of New York Airport, mostly operated by United Airlines, which is the airline I'm flying with today.
China's commercial aviation industry has progressed not only in the number of passengers it carries, but also in technological sophistication. Only a handful of countries, including China, are capable now of producing large passenger aircrafts. China's first domestically produced passenger jet, the C919, took off on its maiden commercial flight on May 2023, a milestone event for the country. China Eastern Airlines flight MU9191 rose into the skies above Shanghai Hongqiao Airport carrying over 130 passengers. Even though the aircraft still relies on American and European imports for critical components such as the engine, avionics, and landing gear, the C919 exemplifies China's growing manufacturing capabilities.
Folks, I'm gonna be wandering around nice and beautiful places here in China and documenting about it. I will also be Instagramming my day-to-day and my trips in this awesome country. Feel free to follow me and leave your comments and impression over there about life in China. I will leave the link to my account in the description down below. Remember to like the video, subscribe to my channel, and hit the bell button so you don't miss any of my follow-up stories about what's going on in this part of the world. If you think there might be someone else interested in these kind of videos, please consider sharing. My name is Rafael, thanks for watching, and stay safe until next time.